125, and today I've got a story for everyone. Before I get into that, I want to talk about the Lion's Den real quick. 5 people checked in: Brent, Kate, Shadow Flare, Thankful, and Lee Hodges. All falling asleep in the wish fulfilled, all staying consistent, all changing their lives. So the story from yesterday. My wife and I were eating dinner, and my daughter was over a friend's house. She has a new friend that she just met probably within the last week, I guess, since school started. And she found out that she's got a girl that lives across the street that's like the same age. And so now they're friends. But anyway, so she was across the street. Their house is probably 100 yards from our house. And as I said, my wife and I were eating dinner. The weather's beautiful, so we have the windows open. And I'm kind of in the middle of a sentence, and my wife goes, "I think I just heard Peyton scream." And I didn't hear anything. My wife has these ears. I call her wolf ears a lot of times because she'll just hear things like that are just like, especially when it comes to the kids. And so when she said that, I was like, was it a good scream or what kind of a scream was it? She said I couldn't really tell. And so we didn't think too much of it because it could just be, kids playing hide and seek, whatever. And so a minute or two goes by and my wife's phone rings and it's across the street. I'm not sure if it was Peyton or the dad, but apparently their dog, which I saw for the first time yesterday, I'm not sure what kind of dog it is, but it looks kind of like a pit bull. And apparently the dog had gotten a hold of a chipmunk. And so that was game over for the chipmunk. And my daughter has this fondness for animals. Um, and so we knew it wasn't a good scene for her. And she was, not having a good time. So my wife went over to check on her and try and calm her down. And about 15-20 minutes passes and they come walking back, and now I can hear them walking back because I can hear my daughter just sobbing outrageously. Like, it's just, you know every house on the block can hear her, like she's that loud. And so she comes in and not only is she sobbing loudly, but now she also starts kind of being upset with the dad because apparently he had let the dog off of the leash to go and play with the groundhog. Like, they saw the groundhog, and this was Peyton's side of the story. They saw the groundhog, and he said, and the dog's name is Carson. And so he said, let's let Carson play with the groundhog and, see how it goes, have some fun. And that's how it went down. So she's upset at the dad, she's upset at the situation, and it's just like, at this point it's been like 30-40 minutes, and I have to kind of jump in and tell her, all right, we got to dial it back a little bit. We do have neighbors and these kinds of things happen. It's okay to be upset, but let's just dial it back. And so that was kind of it. And so later that night, I find out from my wife that apparently this groundhog and the dog, they have had a relationship for pretty much the entire summer, to where the dad had been letting the dog off the leash, and the dog would just chase the groundhog and they would play together and everything would be fine all summer. And then my daughter goes there for the first time, and all of a sudden they're not friends anymore. And she's witnessing something that she really didn't want to witness. Why would this happen? Why would this happen? You probably know why. I know why. So she comes in this morning and she asked me, and she's like, Dad, she's like, why did that happen yesterday with the groundhog? She asked me. I didn't even have to tell her, and I knew she would come and ask me because she is curious about how everything works. And I said, well, Peyton, every time you're in a situation like this where you have to experience, quote unquote death, like there is no death, but you have to, you have an experience like this, you have these strong emotional reactions. Now, it's fine to have a strong emotional reaction, but then also, what do? You have this strong emotional reaction, and then you come in and you call people and you tell everybody about it. And it's like you want everyone to feel sorry for you because of what happened to you. And so you make these things all about you. And so the subconscious, because you're giving it this much attention and this much focus and this much energy, the subconscious then figures that you want more of that. Subconscious, universe, whatever you want to call it. She says the universe gives you more of that. And so round and round we go. And so until you're able to be in a situation like this and not give it this strong emotional charge, sure, you're going to be sad when these things happen. But if you can just little by little have a less and less response to it, then you will see less and less of it. And that is how it works. And so she listened and she took it for what it was. And I'm sharing this because this is how it works. The dog and the groundhog were playing all summer together. As soon as Peyton gets there, there's, stuff goes haywire. And then all of a sudden it's different. It's just like the fishing trip that I was on. Everything is perfect. John gets on the boat. All of a sudden, it's the perfect storm. And there's waves and they can't even fish now. It's the same thing with her. And I'm sure it's the same thing with you in probably a different aspect of your life. But this is a prime example of how everything works in terms of you got to detach to certain things, and there's certain things you have to be assertive. This for her is she needs to detach from these kinds of things as much as she can. Otherwise, it's just going to keep happening. And just because I know her, this is happening in her experience and solely her experience. This is happening with people that she just knows. That she knows. I don't know these people, so it's not really happening in my experience. She's in my experience, but if she wasn't, I wouldn't even know that these people were passing away. But she's so focused on this that she's getting it all over. Remember, everything is happening for you. You are creating the simulation. You're creating it all. And you can create what you want, or you can create what you don't want. And how do you do it? Fall asleep in the wish fulfilled, and then during the day, detach from the things you don't want and give your attention to what you do want. I hope this helped. That's going to be it for today. Day 125 in the books. I'll see you tomorrow for day 126. I love you all. Have a wonderful night, and I'll talk to you soon.